So a few days ago, I finally hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, and some of you might be wondering how I got there. So here's everything I learned along the way. Learning number 1, sub for sub is stupid and does not work at all. It took me around 6 months to even get to 100 subscribers on YouTube, and for me that was already a really big milestone. But one thing that I did try to do a lot of that now I'm realizing was such a waste of time was just looking for people to subscribe to, leaving a comment, and then never watching their other content again most of the time. There's this big sub for sub community going on, and that's probably the biggest waste of time because one, you're trying to spend so much time just promoting your channels when you could just be spending more time making better content. And two, it doesn't really even work because how it would work is you subscribe to someone, they subscribe back to you, and most of the time, you guys aren't really interested in each other's content. You're just interested in each other's subscribe count. And so what happens there is once you subscribe, YouTube starts recommending them your content, but then because they're not interested in it, they won't watch it. And so this actually hurts your short-term algorithm stats because you're getting a lower click-through rate, you're getting a lower watch time, and YouTube is gonna be very smart to figure out that your content is actually not that interesting, and it might even lead to longer-term worse metrics for you because people just aren't watching your content. It's really easy to find these types of channels as well because they have very, very high subscribe counts, but they only have like 20 to 30 views per video. And so that's a good indicator that they're probably sub for subbing, and even though they might be there on the subscribe count, YouTube monetization is about both subscribers and watch hours, and so you can't really just focus really hard on one thing and ignore the other. Thing number 2 I learned was it's not that useful to promote on Facebook and Reddit. Now, I've had some mild success promoting on Facebook and Reddit. Some of my videos, I'll put a screenshot here, for example, they've gotten hundreds or even thousands of views just from external sources because I had a Reddit post, make it to the top of the page and it would stay there for a few hours, and that leads to a lot of clicks. However, for some reason, external traffic doesn't really translate to organic traffic. It's not like if you have a lot of external traffic, it'll suddenly mean that YouTube is going to recommend you to more people either via search ranking or via the homepage. What you'll see with this chart in particular is that you see a really big spike because of the external traffic, but then you don't really get a lot more impressions afterwards. And so I don't think it's really tied that way. I think YouTube rewards people finding your video organically and then staying there to watch. And even though you might be pushing a lot of traffic from other sources, I don't think it then enables the algorithm to sort of recommend you more because of it. The third thing that I learned is it's really important to find your niche, but also it's equally important to have a sustainable niche that you can actually produce content consistently with. I sort of learned this the hard way where initially I was just uploading all different types of contents. Like my name PG Blanks is because I couldn't really think of what to put after my initials, and so I just put blanks because maybe I thought later I'll figure it out, or I'll just keep it that way and just be a sort of like a random anything under the sun type of content creator. And so what you'll see is a lot of varying content, whether that be food, K-pop, skincare, vlog style stuff. And then honestly, I just sort of stumbled upon this flip phone niche because I saw when I was doing some YouTube searching that there wasn't any big creators talking about the flip phones and dumb phones in general. It was mostly one-off videos by people who weren't really in that niche, and I can only really think of one solid creator who's firmly in the dumb phone niche. His name's Jose, and I really love his stuff, but other than him, there wasn't really anyone else consistently making videos on this. So I thought maybe I'll give it a try. I'll buy a flip phone and let's test it out for a few weeks. Little did I know that this would become my bread and butter. It's what really drove me to this 1,000 subscriber mark. If I look at my stats now, I think around 70% of my watch hours are made up of content related to my flip phone. Now, if I had enough to talk about here, and if this was truly my passion, I could have made a lot more money already by this time, and I would have probably reached my 1,000 sub threshold a lot earlier. But the problem is that even though I've found that this is a pretty good niche where people actually click and people are interested when I talk about these things, I personally am not really that passionate about it. I know people who are super passionate about digital minimalism and dumb phones, not just because of the digital minimalism aspect, but also because of the security aspect. Like, people just don't trust Google and Apple and all of big tech. Whereas I personally don't really care as much about that side, and I just wanted to try and reduce my smartphone usage to a more manageable amount. And I've done that already. And so, like I said in my previous video, I've sort of run out of things to talk about that genuinely interest me. And I feel like people would sort of realize that at some point when I'm just milking a topic for the sake of it. Like, I've already reached a comfortable smartphone usage and a comfortable balance. There's not much more I can talk about. And I don't really want to go out and purchase more and more flip phones when I know that at the end of the day, I don't really enjoy using dumb phones, and I'm only using it as sort of a circuit breaker. My learning here is, yes, it's really important to find a niche, and it does really work where if you find one niche and you just make videos on that niche, that's what really drives a lot of growth. But also, you have to make it sustainable for yourself, because otherwise you won't have anything to talk about, or you'll just be forced making videos on stuff that you're not passionate about. And maybe if you did want to make YouTube like a full-time job, I'm sure that it won't always be something you're extremely passionate about, you're super excited to wake up in the morning for. But for me, because I'm just doing it as a hobby and maybe to get a few dollars on the side, I wanted to make sure that I was still being true to myself and what I actually liked and enjoyed. Now, my last learning throughout this was that it's okay to take breaks and you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. I've probably taken multiple multi-week breaks throughout the last year, and that really sort of goes against what people say, right? Which is, to become quite successful, you need to be uploading weekly or even twice a week. And that's how you build an audience. But for me, my strategy was a bit different, and I sort of just stumbled upon it where I was able to produce like 3 or 4 videos that would get consistent views from search no matter what. Regardless if I was still uploading on a regular basis, those videos were still carrying my channel. And so that allowed me to not worry too much about how consistent I would upload. And I found that my core audience, meaning the people who really do watch my content, no matter what I put out, there's only like 40 or 50 people among the 1,000 subs who do this. They're quite forgiving. Like, they realize how much of a commitment it is to upload on a regular basis, and they're really nice when I say, hey, I want to take a bit of a break. And they're always welcoming if I do come back. So that's really reassuring, because one, I have this quote-unquote evergreen content that will always get searches and clicks and will drive a lot of the revenue. But also there's this part of my audience who are, connecting with me on a bit more of a personal level. So that's 4 things I've learned on the way to 1,000 subs on YouTube. See you next time.